In this next video, I'm going to show you how to do voicing. So what is voicing? If the sound of the piano is harsh or really bright or kind of tinny sounding, it may need some voicing to mellow it out, to even out the tone. And if the piano has a muted sound, you're going to want to add some hammer hardener solution so that it will add brightness to the piano. And you may need to do some voicing after adding that. I add a little at a time, and then I check it when it dries and see how bright it is. So let's get started. Okay, first you're going to tune the piano. We need it to be in tune when doing the voicing so that we're not paying attention to the unisons being off. We're just listening for the tone. And while you're tuning, make note of which sections sound extra bright, or maybe all of the notes need voicing. And then I'm going to show you what parts you'll need. Now we're ready to do some voicing. So you're going to need, first of all, a tool with some needles on them. Can you see the needles? So that you can voice the hammers. You're going to do this on the shoulder, which I'll show you in a minute. But if you unscrew this a little, you can then angle it and tighten it again, so that'll give you better access to some parts of the hammer. Okay, and then the second thing you're going to need is gloves, because you do not want to stab yourself. I learned the hard way. And the third thing you're going to need are these voicing blocks. So these are gonna go under the hammer heads so that they're resting on here and so that you don't break off the hammer heads or the shanks. I'm not sure if you can hear this uneven tone, but let's see. See how some are kind of mellow and some are extra harsh? So I'm going to show you how we do that. You're going to pull the action out. Now be very careful when you pull the action out, because you don't want any of the keys to be pressed down, or you could break off a hammer. Okay, so I am going to put this block, I'm going to lift some hammers, and I'm going to put this block, oops, underneath the hammers, so that when I'm needling, they have something to rest on, and I'm not just pushing really hard down on it. Okay, and then you're gonna take your tool, and I'll do it without turning it first. So you're gonna wanna voice on this part of the hammer. The only time you voice on the very head of it, the very top, is if they're just really hard and the tone is not changing. And if that's the case, you could also add some felt softener drops to it, and then you can needle after that. So I know that this middle C is so hard. Well, I'll just do it here. So we're going to voice into the shoulder. And I usually do about 4 when I'm starting, and I go all the way up the piano, and I normally start at the very bottom note. Then you go to the next one. You're going to have to go back and do more voicing on some sections than others, but I start out low just in case so I don't make it too mellow. You don't want to do that. So let's say we got a few of those done. Let's try those. Then, when you want to see what the tone is after you've gone through, make sure the key isn't pressed down so that you don't knock off one of the hammers. And then you would check the tone again. So that didn't do very much. So we're going to want to keep needling, and then check out the tone. Now, there is another tool. It's longer, and when you're all done and maybe you're listening to it and it just needs a tiny, tiny bit, that tool you can stick through the strings. It only has one needle on it, and you can do a little touch-up work here and there. Okay, I'm going to voice the piano, and it'll sound much better. As you can see, I am needling the shoulder. I'm needling around the top of the hammer. I have my glove on because I don't want to stab myself. It hurts. And sometimes these needles break. Try to find them because they're sharp, but it's very easy to replace them in here. There are screw, you need a tiny screwdriver. Undo that, the needles come right out, and they're pretty long, about this long. Well, not quite.
It's Jenna the Tuna Show.